Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments now. Let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. He's not your son. She said it like it was a weather update. Casual, cold, like it didn't just set my soul on fire. I stared at her. My wife. The woman I'd built my life around. We were in the kitchen. Ethan's lunchbox sat between us, open and half-packed. She said it, then turned away and reached for the peanut butter like the sentence hadn't just changed my reality. "What did you say?" I asked, even though I'd heard every syllable. She didn't flinch. I said, "He's not yours." Biologically, I couldn't breathe. My heart pounded against my ribs like it wanted out. The air thickened. My mind started rewinding through every memory, Ethan's first steps, the way he curled up beside me on stormy nights, how he always asked me if I was coming home after every deployment. "And now this? You waited 9 years to tell me this?" I whispered. She finally looked up, eyes empty. "You weren't supposed to find out. But now that you have, maybe we can stop pretending." Pretending? I felt something inside me shift, not break, just go quiet. Like a soldier switching to combat mode. "You don't get to make that decision alone," I said slowly. "He's my son. He calls me Dad." She shrugged. "That doesn't make him yours." I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I just picked up the lunchbox, closed it, and said, "Then you're not my wife." She froze. I turned, walked to the door, and stepped outside into a world I suddenly didn't recognize. And that's when the revenge began. Not out of anger, but calculation. Before we move ahead, I just want to say, your support truly means everything. We're building something special here, and our next big goal is reaching 10,000 incredible subscribers. If you're feeling the emotions in these stories, imagine what's still to come. Subscribe now, be part of this amazing journey, and let's keep growing together. Your one click can make a real difference. Let's continue the story. Lena was a mystery even before we married. She had that kind of beauty that didn't ask for attention. It commanded it. Controlled, efficient, never over-explaining. She claimed she worked Intel liaison at Langley. I'd spent enough time in Black Ops to know that was code for stay out of it. But looking back, I missed the signs. She never slept the same way twice. Some nights curled up in a ball. Others flat on her back, like she was in a coffin. Some nights, she'd thrash in nightmares and mutter in languages she claimed she didn't speak. And every time I tried to ask, even gently, she'd shut down. "Don't go CIA on me, Nate," she'd say with a smirk. "You signed up for a wife, not an interrogation subject." I thought it was PTSD. The job. Trauma. I understood that. I had my own demons. We coped differently. I cooked breakfast. She disappeared into silence. But now I know better. It wasn't trauma. It was guilt. She wasn't haunted by what she'd done. She was haunted by the fact that I might find out. And here's what's worse. She never loved me the way I loved her. I loved like a soldier, loyal, blind, with purpose. She loved like a spy, with layers, distractions, and an exit plan. Every memory now felt staged. Her kisses were rehearsed. Her laughter? Just a soundbite in a mission brief. The worst part? Ethan was real. I know he was real. And that meant her betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was psychological warfare. I was the subject in a long-term manipulation op, and she was the handler. But I wasn't going to play the broken husband. Not anymore. No, I was going to become the threat she underestimated. The file was buried deep in an encrypted folder on her backup drive, the one she kept locked in the wall behind Ethan's bookshelf. She thought I didn't know it was there, but I did. I'd known for a while. I just didn't want to believe I had to open it. The password was our anniversary. The irony made me sick. Inside, classified documents, receipts for wire transfers in offshore banks, intercepted conversations in Arabic, French, Russian. Then I saw the file name. Operation Cole. My name. I opened it. It was a full behavioral dossier. On me. Photographs from missions I'd never told her about. Audio transcriptions of private conversations. Psychological assessments. strengths, weaknesses, emotional triggers, my medical records. She hadn't just studied me, she had profiled me like I was an enemy asset. I nearly threw up, but then I saw something worse. A subfolder titled Genetics, Ethan. Inside, DNA test results. Confirmed, no paternal link. She had known for years, and never told me. That's when the room started spinning. I wasn't just betrayed. I was used. She'd built her cover around our family, around me, and Ethan was part of that. A pawn. The man I was. He died right there, in that silent room with the humming hard drive and the lies echoing through my mind. I copied everything, dumped it to a secure thumb drive. If she was playing spy games, she just activated her final mission. Because now I wasn't her husband. I was her handler's worst nightmare, a betrayed Green Beret with nothing to lose. And I was going to burn her whole shadow world down. The night after I found the file, I couldn't sleep. Not for a second. Not because I was angry. Anger was a luxury. What I felt was displacement. Like my life had been yanked out from under me, and I was free-falling through some invisible trapdoor I never saw coming. Lena lay next to me, breathing slow and calm. I stared at the ceiling, fists clenched beneath the sheets, heart pounding in that slow, deliberate tempo trained killers know well. In the dark, the silence grew so loud it roared. I turned my head slightly. She wasn't really asleep. Her breathing was too even, too controlled, like she wanted me to believe she was deep under. But I'd spent enough nights behind enemy lines to know a fake sleeper when I saw one. I whispered, "What's it like?" She didn't move, not even a twitch. "What's it like using someone who would have taken a bullet for you?" Still nothing. I sat up. "Just answer me that, Lena." She opened her eyes, cold, flat, unreadable. "Do you really want to have this conversation now?" I laughed, low, bitter. "Now's the only time I'll let you lie to me face to face." She sat up slowly. No fear, just exhaustion. Or was it performance again? "You think you know what's going on," she said. "You don't." I turned on the lamp. Her pupils adjusted too fast. She'd been awake the whole time. "Try me," I said. She looked away, then back. "There are things bigger than us, Nate. Bigger than marriage. Than blood." "Ethan?" My voice cracked. "He's bigger than blood, too?" She didn't answer. That silence cut deeper than any lie ever could. I got out of bed, went to the closet, pulled out the go bag I'd packed 2 hours earlier. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't need to. She watched me go, her mouth tight, eyes glassy. And I swear, in that one sliver of silence between us, I saw something that almost looked like regret. But regret doesn't undo betrayal. And silence doesn't equal peace. The next morning, I drove 3 hours south into Virginia woods so thick the GPS gave up. I parked in front of a rundown cabin. Steel-plated windows. Satellite antenna poking through the roof like a Cold War relic. This wasn't just a safe house. It was his safe house. Derek Mason, former JSOC, off books. My old spotter in Kabul. He owed me 2 favors. I was here to collect the last one. The door creaked open before I knocked. "Jesus," he muttered. "Didn't expect you. Come in, Cole." I stepped inside. Same smell, burnt coffee, old gun oil, stale air. He poured black coffee into 2 mismatched mugs. No questions. Just waiting. "You remember Lena?" I said, sipping. He froze. "Yeah," he said slowly. "The agency queen. Pretty. Quiet. Dead eyes." I reached into my coat and dropped a flash drive on the table. "Operation Cole," I said. He stared at it, unmoving. "She made a file on you?" "She built her career on me." He inserted the drive into an ancient laptop. No internet. Pure local. The screen glowed. Derek's eyes scanned faster than most people can blink. Pages and pages. My operations. Psychological profiles. Even his name in there. "Holy shit," he whispered. "She was never my wife," I said. "She was a handler playing long con. She needed access to someone with Tier 1 clearances and a clean conscience." "She got both," he muttered. "You gave her the front door." He looked up at me. "So what now?" "I need proof she's flipped. Not just on me. On the country." Derek nodded. There's someone in Langley still owes me for Caracas. If Lena's dirty, really dirty, they'll know. Make the call, I said. He stood. You really want this, Nate? You ready to find out how deep it goes? I looked him dead in the eye. She put my life in a file. I'm putting her in a grave. It took 6 hours to get the call back. Derek paced the cabin like a panther. Finally, the phone rang. He answered. Silence. Then, got it. He nodded once, hung up, and turned to me. She's not just flipped. She's playing both sides. We've got chatter from a satellite relay intercepted near Damascus. She's been making trades. I leaned in. What kind of trades? He hesitated. Black site identities. Movement schedules. Names. Real ones. People we left behind. My chest tightened. I had friends on those lists. She's selling them to Russia? I asked. He shook his head. Worse. She's been talking to a group that doesn't even have a flag. They're ghosts with weapons and a price list. Extremists. He nodded. My blood ran cold. He pulled up a sound file. They caught this 2 weeks ago. He pressed play. Lena's voice. Clear as glass. No, not him. He's still useful. The others, I don't care. Make the drop. Send the payment. Then another voice. Male. Arabic accent. And the child. Pause. Untouched. For now. I couldn't breathe. Derek closed the laptop. You still think this is about you? I stood. Rage pulsing behind my eyes like a second heartbeat. No. This is about justice now. She's speaking at the UN in 2 weeks, Derek added. Geneva. Front and center. I clenched my fists. Perfect. He tilted his head. You're not going to wait for legal channels? I looked at him. There's no justice in a courtroom. There's only leverage. I returned home that night like a ghost slipping through his own walls. Lena was in the kitchen, stirring pasta, humming softly, a tune she used to sing to Ethan when he was still in diapers. She looked up, smiled like nothing was broken between us. Like she didn't know I had her lies on a hard drive in my jacket. I made your favorite, she said. Ethan wanted to help. Ethan peeked from behind her, sauce smeared on his cheek, grinning. I did the cheese part, Dad. I crouched and opened my arms. He ran into them like he always did. I closed my eyes, breathing him in. The only pure thing left in this house. Smells amazing, Bud, I said, pulling away gently. Why don't you wash up? We'll eat together. He ran off, singing the same tune she was humming earlier. Lena watched me with a tilt of her head. Studying. You okay? She asked. Long day, I said. Let's eat. We sat. The 3 of us. Like some grotesque painting of a family framed in betrayal and blind innocence. She passed the bread. I took it. She laughed at Ethan's joke. I smiled at the right time. Every movement calculated. Every glance locked. She reached for my hand across the table. You've been distant, she said. You sure everything's okay? I looked at her, dead in the eye. I'm fine, I said. Just tired. She squeezed my hand soft, slow. And I knew what she was doing. Testing my pulse. My micro-reactions. I didn't blink. Because tonight wasn't about confrontation. It was about memorizing her behavior. Watching how she moved, what she feared. She had no idea she was eating dinner with a man preparing her downfall. By the time dessert hit the table, I had already decided. She wouldn't see the trap until it closed around her like a steel jaw. And when it did, I'd make sure she saw my face. 2 days later, Derek called again. Confirmed. She's cleared to speak at the UN next Friday. Counterterrorism keynote. High security, big press. I stared out my motel window at the bleak highway stretch beyond. Geneva felt like another world. One where masks ruled and liars got applause. She'll be exposed in front of the world, I said. He exhaled on the line. You sure about this, Nate? Once we leak her files, it won't just be her name that burns. The agency's got fingers all over this. They'll bury you. Let them try. That night, I booked the flight. Alias name. Disguised route. Everything sterile. At home, Lena packed in front of the mirror. She adjusted her scarf, tested her voice in French. Even practiced expressions in the glass. Ethan knocked on the bedroom door. Can I come with you, Mom? She smiled. Soft. Too soft. The kind of softness spies use when their cover starts to fray. This is a work trip, baby. But when I'm back, we'll go somewhere just us, okay? He nodded, disappointed. Walked away. I stepped in as she zipped her bag. You nervous? I asked casually. She looked at me. Her face unreadable. Nervous people die in my line of work. I'm prepared. I nodded. I believe you. And I did. Because she was prepared for cameras, questions, diplomatic applause. But she wasn't prepared for what was coming next. I'd already scheduled the leaks. Dozens of files. Operation Cole. The intercepted calls. Satellite pings tying her to black ops sold to terror groups. They would drop mid-speech. While the whole world watched. She'd step onto that stage with applause. And step off it with handcuffs. Derek's contact came through again, this time with raw files pulled from a deep Langley mirror server. A 16-digit encrypted folder titled, Blackwing alias, L. Morova alias. Not Lena Cole. Morova. Russian. Inside, travel logs. Transfers. Access cards. Codenames. And a series of redacted intel drops disguised as diplomatic pouches. She'd been working both sides for almost 9 years. Not a double agent. A triple one. She wasn't just selling to extremists. She was flipping them, too, letting factions cannibalize each other using poisoned intel. Controlled chaos. But why? Then I saw it, a memo thread between two high-clearance analysts. L. Morova believed destabilization created opportunity. She called it predictive collapse. Said peace was a myth. Control was earned through engineered fear. She wasn't a trader for money. She was a believer. A zealot for control. And Ethan? He was insurance. The only thing tying her to humanity was me. Which meant if I disappeared or turned against her, Ethan became a bargaining chip. I sat back. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was war. The night before her flight, Lena tucked Ethan into bed with the same routine she'd followed for years. A light knock on his door. A quiet hum of that same lullaby. A soft kiss on his forehead. To anyone else, it would look beautiful, maternal, pure. But I saw it differently now. It was her performing one last time. Giving Ethan a scripted moment to hold on to. Something clean to remember, so he'd never question the shadow behind it. That was her style. Leave just enough warmth to muddy the truth. I leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. Watching. She kissed his cheek, whispered, "You're my whole world." Liar. She stood, turned to me, smiled soft. He's growing up too fast. He gets that from you, I said. Her eyes flickered. Just a flicker, a micro glitch in the mask. You're quiet tonight. Just tired. She walked toward me, brushing her hand along my chest. I'm glad we're okay again. We're not, I said, tone low, calm. She blinked. Excuse me. I said we're not okay. But we will be. After Geneva. She tilted her head, like a bird trying to study a threat. You're acting strange, Nate. I gave a smile she couldn't read. Just tired. You should pack. And I kissed her. Soft, slow, final. Not for her. For me. So I'd remember that the last time I touched her, I wasn't in love. I was letting go. She lingered a moment, searching for something in my eyes. But I'd shut the doors, locked the windows, let her see nothing but the calm before her reckoning. When she left the room, I stepped into Ethan's. He stirred, half awake. You okay, bud? I whispered. He nodded. I heard Mom singing. Yeah, I said softly. Try to remember how it sounds, okay? He closed his eyes again, and I sat beside him, watching the ceiling fade as dawn approached, the last night our house would ever feel whole. The Geneva skyline shimmered like polished steel. Cold, clean, deceptive. Lena's private flight touched down with zero fanfare, just the way she preferred. No press, no agents, just diplomatic plates and a sterile escort to the Intercontinental. Meanwhile, I watched from a nondescript flat 2 blocks away. One camera, one laptop, one mission. Derek was already running interference from DC, handling the timed releases. We had synced everything to hit at 11:45 a.m. Geneva time, mid-speech, Mid-spotlight, mid-lie. But first, I needed a witness. Not a politician. Not a journalist. A man named Omar Salim. 10 years ago, Lena approved a strike that leveled a compound in Yemen. It wasn't sanctioned. She framed it as an intel failure. The real reason? She was tying up a loose end. One of her early informants who knew about the arms for cash laundering scheme she helped broker. Omar survived, lost half his family, disappeared into the wind. I found him. He sat across from me now, eyes hollow, scarred from fire. She thought I died, he said in near-perfect English. But I lived long enough to see her rise on the ashes of my blood. I nodded. Now you'll watch her fall. He slid a worn USB across the table. Here's her voice, giving the order, laughing, calling us acceptable fallout. She didn't care about names, just numbers. I took the drive like it was a loaded weapon. This wasn't just about public humiliation now. This was evidence of war crimes. And with the right drop, timed with her speech, it wouldn't just be Interpol looking for her. It would be The Hague. Friday, 11 a.m. The UN assembly buzzed with diplomats, translators, flashing lenses. Armed security lined the walls. On the floor, Lena stood poised in her deep navy suit, composed, immaculate, a beacon of trust. Now welcoming Ms. Lena Cole, Counterterrorism Division, United States Central Intelligence. Applause thundered. Cameras zoomed. The world leaned forward. Back in the flat, I clicked the first trigger. 11:15 a.m. Initial leak hits Reddit, then Twitter. A series of black and white PDFs. Operation Cole. Names. Dates. Signatures. The thread goes viral in under 10 minutes. Lena continued unfazed, voice echoing through the chamber. We live in an age where shadows don't just hide threats, they breed them. 11:30 a.m. Salim's audio file goes live on YouTube. Auto-translated captions. A side-by-side of Lena's voice matching the airstrike command logs. 11:43 a.m. Interpol's Geneva Division receives an anonymous tip. A full dossier drop with Lena's alternate identity, El Morova. 11:45 a.m. Interpol enters the building. Back on stage, Lena's voice faltered. 1 second. That's all it took. Her eyes darted to the side, where a security chief whispered into his mic. She knew. Her throat tightened. Her smile froze. She stumbled. The moderator stepped forward, confused. Then, a wave of murmurs. Phones buzzing. Delegates reading headlines live. Breaking. CIA official implicated in war crimes leaked during live UN speech. Lena Cole identified AS intel broker linked to extremist groups. Live developing scandal. Cameras turned. Lights sharpened. Lena blinked, then locked eyes with one camera. The moment stretched. Because in that moment, in that flash of silence and fear, she knew. This wasn't an attack. It was a sentence. The exact second Lena's face cracked on stage, a freelance journalist in the fifth row snapped a photo. The shot caught everything. The flash of panic in her eyes, the bead of sweat on her temple, the way her left hand subtly shifted toward the exit badge clipped to her belt. By the time the image hit the wire, it had already gone viral. This woman was giving a speech on global security. Then she saw them. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag agent exposed. Hashtag UN spy scandal. Hashtag Lena Cole unmasked. And within 15 minutes, Lena Cole, polished, celebrated, unstoppable Lena Cole, was the face of international betrayal. In the surveillance room beneath the assembly chamber, security footage showed Lena being calmly escorted off stage. She didn't resist. She didn't run. But she didn't speak, either. She knew anything she said would be used against her. And not just by the law. By me. Back at the flat, I leaned over the laptop, watching it all unfold in real time. The image of her broken expression was everywhere. Every feed. Every language. Derek called. You seeing this? He asked, voice low, excited. She's cooked, I said. You sure? I paused. No, I admitted. Because this is Lena we're talking about. She doesn't bleed unless she's already planning the next wound. There was silence on the line. Then what's next? Derek asked. I stared at the screen, at her frozen face, the crowd whispering, the moment the myth crumbled. Now, I said, we make sure there's no escape hatch. Because even cornered, Lena wasn't done yet. She never played to win battles. She played to outlast wars. The holding suite they placed Lena in wasn't a cell, not yet. Glass walls. Private guard. Diplomatic courtesy. They still didn't know how far her reach went, so they played it soft. But inside that glass? Lena sat with her legs crossed, breathing steady, hands folded in her lap like she was waiting for a board meeting. A translator entered with a UN official. The man cleared his throat, visibly nervous. Ms. Cole, under UN protocol, we're required to ask if you wish to address the allegations being circulated. She cut him off. No comment. Interpol, no comment. He fumbled, then tried again. We have an emergency meeting scheduled. Lena finally looked up. Her stare shut him down like a steel shutter falling. Tell them, she said, tone even. I demand representation. Full diplomatic rights under Section 7A of the Vienna Accords. But now, the translator looked to the official. He nodded weakly and exited, flustered. The guard lingered. Lena turned to her reflection in the glass wall, adjusted her collar, straightened her posture, then whispered, just loud enough. You should have known better, Nathan. Meanwhile, back in Virginia, I had Ethan. I'd picked him up from school before the news broke. He was quiet, confused. Kept asking why Mom's name was on YouTube. What's happening, Dad? I crouched in front of him, held his shoulders. Ethan, sometimes people we love do bad things. Things they hide. Things we only understand when it's too late. He frowned. You mean like a secret mission? Worse, I said softly. A secret life. His eyes dropped. Is Mom a bad guy? I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure what to call someone who once sang lullabies and later ordered drone strikes on civilians. All I knew was this. Lena was still playing, still plotting. And if I didn't stay one step ahead, she'd make this whole thing look like my betrayal. 3 hours after her detainment, Lena's backup systems activated. Encrypted signals burst across shadow networks. In Milan, in Jakarta, in Karachi, code pings, data spikes, a web coming alive, one strand at a time. She'd built a failsafe. If she was ever detained, if her alias was exposed, a sequence of triggers would alert her remaining assets. Within minutes, terminals lit up around the world. Fake identities began disappearing. Accounts wiped. Safe houses burned. And one name popped up on every scrambled channel, Nathan Cole. That was when I realized she hadn't just prepared to disappear. She prepared to flip the narrative. Back at Derek's bunker, we watched the signals fire in real time. Jesus, he muttered. She's not hiding. She's activating. This is pre-war protocol. She's going to blame me, I said. Frame me for the leaks. Say I was a rogue ex-soldier with a grudge. That she tried to stop me. Derek's face paled. And now she's got the reach to back it up. Which means we're out of time. I opened the laptop. There was one file I hadn't touched yet. A dead man's switch, a confession I'd recorded the night I left Lena. It detailed everything. Operation Cole, the DNA test, the manipulation, the intercepted files, the audio of the drone strike, Omar's statement. A full confession. My name is Nathan Cole, it began. And if you're watching this, it means the world knows half the truth. Let me show you the rest. I hovered over the send button. Derek looked at me. Once it's out, you can't go back. You'll be hunted too. I'm already hunted, I said. Might as well make it count. And I hit send. That night, as Lena sat alone in a diplomatic suite, the first international bulletin was released. New leak from Nathan Cole, husband of Lena Cole, exposes full details of Intel trade scandal. Was the CIA covering a double agent for a decade? The web she built to silence me? I just turned it against her. The UN's internal security team handed Lena off to Interpol within 6 hours. What followed wasn't an arrest. It was a negotiation. They placed her in a secured black site near Lausanne, underground, no windows, no clocks. The kind of place built for people who could ruin nations with a sentence. 2 agents entered. No names. No country patches. The older one sat first. MS. Cole, it's Morova, she corrected, coolly. He blinked. Lena Morova. Alias Cole. We have multiple witness testimonies, leaked documents, voice recordings, all unverifiable, she said, interrupting. No digital chain of custody. No forensics. You have chaos, not evidence. The second agent leaned in. And what do you call drone strikes on civilians? Lena didn't blink. Collateral under classified parameters. And the off-ledger transfers? The intercepted black egg deals. She leaned forward now, her voice colder than the room. You think you found a villain to hang your headlines on, gentlemen. But what you have is a woman who played the monsters at their own game and won. The room fell silent. The older agent exhaled. You still think this is chess, don't you? She smirked. It was chess. Until you let Nathan flip the board. Outside, an emergency meeting was forming between intelligence chairs of 5 countries. Interpol wanted her extradited. The U.S. wanted her buried. The CIA still hadn't officially responded. Because they knew. She wasn't rogue. She was useful. Until now. Back in the States, I was holed up with Ethan and Derek in a remote cabin in Montana. Cold winds. Satellite jammers. We were invisible for now. Until the satellite phone rang. Blocked ID. Derek reached for it. But I stopped him. I know who it is. I answered. Didn't speak. Then her voice. Calm. Controlled. Nathan. I said nothing. Congratulations, she continued. You made the world look at me differently. Now let's see how they look at you. Still, I didn't respond. You leaked classified intel. Exposed CIA infrastructure. You're not a whistleblower. You're a traitor. I let her words hang for a moment, then finally spoke. I'd rather be a traitor to a lie than loyal to a monster. Silence. Then a chuckle. You always did have a flair for speeches. Tell me one thing, I said. Was Ethan part of the plan? Or just an accident you found useful? She hesitated. Just a breath. Ethan is the only real thing I've ever done. That's why I need him back. I felt my stomach knot. You're never seeing him again. You don't decide that. She hung up. Derek was already pulling up new data. She's moving. Not her, the response. There's a whisper op forming. Quiet. Off the books. A grab team. ETA. 36 hours. For me. I asked. No. For Ethan. The blood drained from my face. She's going to make it look like a rescue, Derek said. Paint you as unstable. Maybe even armed and delusional. She's turning me into a threat to justify taking him. And she's using the system you used to serve. I stood, pacing hard. Then I need to vanish deeper. No, Derek said. You need to go louder. That night, I made the most dangerous move yet. I contacted Rafik Mazari, an exiled journalist who once exposed a cover-up in Ankara and had been on the run ever since. The man had one thing no intelligence agency could control, a worldwide pirate stream with over 18 million followers. No filters, no government control, no ability to censor once it aired. We met in a candlelit basement under an abandoned chapel in Utah. You sure about this? He asked, setting up a makeshift camera. If I disappear tomorrow, the world needs to know who Lena really is and why Ethan can't fall into her hands. He raised an eyebrow. You ready to say it all? I nodded. The red light blinked on. I looked directly into the lens. My name is Nathan Cole. I served my country for 19 years. I believed in truth, in service, in protecting the innocent. But my wife, the woman I trusted with everything, used our family to cover up her betrayal of every oath I swore to uphold. I took a breath, steady. She is not a patriot. She is not a rogue. She is something far more dangerous, a believer in engineered fear. A woman who trades lives like currency and manipulates nations through chaos. I laid it all bare, Operation Cole, the Black Ops cover-ups, the drone strikes, the money, the recordings, the twisted layers of the agency that backed her because she got results. And now, she wants my son. Not because she loves him, but because Ethan is her last tether to public sympathy, her last shield. I won't let her use him the way she used me. I paused. If this is the last time you see my face, know this: truth doesn't need a flag. It just needs light. The red light went out. Rafik handed me the flash drive. This goes live at midnight. No one can stop it. And in a bunker somewhere across the ocean, Lena stared at the screen as the feed exploded. She didn't blink. She just whispered, "Now you forced my hand." By sunrise, the broadcast had reached over 60 million views. Global media exploded. U.S. officials scrambled to draft statements. Interpol denied involvement in any coordinated operations, but the silence from the CIA said more than words ever could. They were watching, waiting, weighing the fallout. And in the shadows, someone made a decision. At 6:17 a.m., Derek picked up a military-grade drone signal on his radar monitor. He paled. Recon bird. Not commercial. Not foreign. Ours. I looked at him. They found us. He nodded slowly. They're confirming movement. Mapping our location before they commit to a ground unit. Extraction? Worse, he muttered. Containment. I scooped Ethan out of bed, barely giving him time to ask questions. He clung to his blanket, confused and scared. Where are we going? He asked. Somewhere safe. He looked at me, eyes wide. Does this have to do with Mom? I didn't answer. Because the truth? It had everything to do with her. Derek threw open the armory wall, revealing 2 rifles, a sat phone, burner IDs, and a tablet hooked to live sat feeds. They won't come tonight. They'll wait until you're vulnerable. Midday, maybe early evening. They want you relaxed. Predictable. Then we make them think we're here, I said. He raised an eyebrow. I'm not running, I said. I'm buying Ethan time. You sure you want to split? I don't want to. I have to. We packed decoy vehicles. Set thermal traps. I left my phone, still pinging from journalists and ex-operatives, inside a running car set to drive off at dawn. The real escape was through the woods. By 8 a.m., Ethan and Derek were miles away, and I stood alone in a house wired to look like home. Because if Lena wanted me erased, I'd make damn sure she walked into a firestorm. At 3:42 p.m., a black SUV rolled up the gravel road. Not fast. Not loud. Deliberate. I watched from the second-story window through rifle scope glass. 2 men stepped out. No insignias. No rush. Just calm, precise movement, the kind that screams, "We've done this before." One stood at the edge of the porch, removed his earpiece, lit a cigarette, then looked directly at the window, at me, and held up a hand. Not a weapon. Not a threat. A file. Curiosity outweighed caution. I came outside unarmed. The man held out the folder. I was told to give this to you. No strings. By who? He smiled faintly. The part of the agency that's tired of being embarrassed. I opened it. Inside, a single-page document. Morova Green. Project renewal clearance revoked. Status. Asset non-compliant. Terminated authorization. Do not protect. Stamped. CIA internal. Do not distribute. The man flicked ash from his cigarette. She's officially burned. You won. I stared at the page. It felt hollow. No one wins in this game, I muttered. He looked at me, eyes tired. You didn't hear this from me, but she's already in motion. Geneva was just step 1. She's got a fallback cell. South Africa. Johannesburg. She's planning an exit. Is she taking Ethan? He hesitated. Then, she doesn't just want him. She needs him. Without him, she's nothing but another war criminal. He turned to go. What happens if I stop her? I asked. He didn't turn back. You become the thing the agency points to and says, see? He went rogue. He left. And I stood there with a file in my hand and a truth I could no longer run from. If I wanted to end this, I had to go to South Africa. I touched down in Johannesburg under a new alias, James Ward, former logistics consultant. No red flags. Clean credentials. Just another American expat on paper. But inside my duffel bag, a Glock, a modified sat phone, and a flash drive with every file that could burn Lena's final web of contacts. Derek stayed with Ethan, off-grid in northern Canada. I'd sent them with enough funds and firewalls to stay invisible for 6 months. I'd visit again if I lived that long. My contact here was a local fixer named Nandi, former intelligence asset turned mercenary contractor. She owed Derek from a Mali operation in 2013. We met in the back room of a jazz bar humming with low sax notes and cigarette haze. "You're late," she said, sipping whiskey. "She's already made a move." "Where?" "Safe house in Sandhurst. High security. Motion-triggered lights. Ex-spook neighbors who mind their business." I slid her the flash drive. "You get this to every contact in your network. Broadcast it, bury it, make copies. If I disappear," she nodded, "this goes live. You're ghost-proofed now." I paused. "And the kid?" She sighed. "There's chatter. Interpol saw Lena's request for asylum transport for a minor. She's trying to pull jurisdiction. She'll say Ethan's in danger. That I'm unstable." Nandi leaned in. "You're not going to get another chance to stop her, Nathan." I nodded. "Because I wasn't here to plead for truth anymore. I was here to end this. Once and for all." As the night fell over Johannesburg, I locked and loaded the Glock, stared at the blinking red light on the burner phone, and whispered to myself, "You always said the mission comes first, Lena." I chambered the first round. "Now you're mine." Lena's Johannesburg safe house was a fortress disguised as modern luxury. Single-level, concrete walls, steel-framed windows, a reinforced gate that didn't belong in a residential street, but passed as high-end security. Nandi parked 2 blocks out. We moved in on foot. "I'll run perimeter cams from my end," she whispered, slotting in a device that intercepted Lena's motion feeds. "You'll have 40 seconds of blackout before they switch to internal failsafes. 40 seconds is all I need." She nodded. 2 targets inside. Lena and a private contractor, possibly ex-GRU. "Be surgical." I checked my gear one last time. Body cam synced. Comms live. Then I approached the gate. It clicked open, motion sensors triggered. And just like that, I stepped back into her world. The silence inside was engineered. No ambient sound. No hum of appliances. Even the temperature felt calculated. Cold enough to keep you alert, warm enough to keep you calm. She was waiting for me. In the center of the living room. Dressed in black. No makeup. Hair tied tight. Eyes hard. Like she'd known I'd come. "Nathan," she said, as if we were meeting for coffee. "You tried to take my son." She tilted her head. "I created that child. Don't forget." My knuckles tightened. "You created a shield," I said. "A tool. Just like you tried to make me one." She didn't blink. "You think you've ruined me? The agency's cut me loose. The world knows my name. But you." She took a step forward. "You'll go down as the man who couldn't protect his own blood." I raised the Glock. "You're not leaving this country with him." And then her backup stepped out of the hallway. Tall, armored, weapon drawn. Standoff. Only this time, I didn't hesitate. I fired first. The shot landed center mass. Her bodyguard dropped like a sack of bricks. The silencer muted the sound, but Lena's scream shattered the air. She dove for the side table. I lunged. We crashed into the glass coffee table. It exploded beneath us. She rolled fast, military fast, kicking my ribs. I caught her leg, twisted, slammed her against the floor. "I should have left you in Geneva," she shouted, swinging a ceramic lamp into my shoulder. "You should have never come home." I roared, pinning her arm, forcing the gun to her throat. Breathless. Both of us shaking. Not from fear. From memory. From every night we slept beside each other pretending this wasn't coming. Her lip bled. My shoulder throbbed. Somewhere outside, Nandi yelled into comms, backup was inbound. But all I saw was her. The woman who stole my life. Twisted my son. And still looked at me like I was the one who broke her. "You loved me once," she whispered. "I buried that version of me in Virginia," I said. Her eyes flinched. "Just once." Then, a smirk. "I still win. You haven't won anything." She nodded to the laptop still glowing on the desk behind her. "By the time you pulled the trigger, I triggered the final dump. If I die, everything I know, every secret, every name gets posted to 5 major networks. The kind of data that destabilizes governments." I hesitated. Barely. And she felt it. That was her power. Even now, held at gunpoint, she knew exactly where I'd flinch. She smiled. But you won't kill me. Because deep down, Nathan, you're still a soldier. And soldiers follow rules. I looked her in the eye. I don't follow orders anymore. Then I flipped her body, zip-tied her wrists, and whispered in her ear, "You're not dying. You're being delivered." The extraction point was a mile north. Nandi's crew had swept the surrounding zone clean. No heat signals, no drone tails. We moved fast, Lena cuffed and silent. Head down. Lip cracked. She didn't say a word the entire way out, but her eyes never stopped calculating. At the rendezvous, a private aircraft waited under a false humanitarian call sign. Once aboard, she was secured, triple restraints. I sat across from her in the cabin as we lifted off. Altitude, 11,000 feet. Destination, unknown CIA satellite black site in Greenland, where jurisdiction meant nothing and mercy expired at the door. She finally spoke. "They'll make me disappear. You know that." I nodded. "They should have done it years ago." She studied me. "You really think Ethan will forgive you? For dragging him into this?" "No," I said. "But he'll understand. One day." Her voice softened, a crack in the wall. "You were a good man, Nathan. That's why I chose you." I stared out the window. "That's why you used me." She leaned back, tired now. "The game's over." "No," I said quietly. "The game just ended." Hours later, I handed her off. No ceremony. No goodbye. Just chains and silence. And as the doors closed behind her, heavy, final, I didn't feel victorious. I felt hollow. Like every war I'd ever survived had finally caught up and asked for payment. Back on the tarmac, Nandi approached me. "You all right?" I shook my head. "Not yet." She handed me a folded note, Ethan's handwriting. "Dad, I hope you're safe. I saved you the last cookie. Come home soon." I closed my eyes, breathed, and finally, after years of secrets and blood and betrayal, I smiled. For the first time since it all began. Greenland. The black site was buried under ice and fog, the kind of place not even satellites paid attention to. They took Lena without a word. Steel doors closed behind her like a tomb. That was supposed to be the end of it. But endings are never clean in a world built on secrets. 3 days later, I flew to Montreal. Ethan was safe, in a cabin with Derek, surrounded by snow and silence. I hadn't seen him since Johannesburg. When I walked in, he looked up from the table where he was drawing a spaceship. "Dad?" I knelt, hugged him like he'd slip away if I let go. He pulled back, narrowed his eyes. "Is she gone?" "She's not coming back," I said. He paused, then nodded, quietly, but something in his face had changed. Older, sharper. And that's when I noticed it, a thin scar under his left ear. I froze. I never remembered that scar. "Ethan," I said slowly, "did your mom ever take you to the doctor without telling me?" He shrugged. "I dunno. When I was little, she said I got a tracker, in case I ever got lost." "Tracker?" I looked at Derek. He was already reaching for his gear. We scanned him, and there it was. A subcutaneous chip, still active. Encrypted. Military grade. Derek's jaw tightened. "This isn't a tracker, Nate. It's a dead man's beacon." "What does that mean?" He looked at me. "Grim. If something happens to Lena, this thing lights up her last protocol." "And what's the protocol?" Derek hesitated, then whispered, "Retaliation." My blood ran cold. Lena didn't just plan for exposure. She planned for revenge through her son. And now, that signal was live. We moved fast. Derek cracked the chip's frequency. It pinged across 3 servers, routed through Moscow, Cape Town, and, unbelievably, Langley. "This isn't just a kill switch," he said, typing like hell. "It's an activation node. Once triggered, it sends a code to sleeper cells, people who still owe her favors. Operatives. Assets. Mercs." I stared at the screen. A file appeared. Protocol Umbra. In the event of asset detainment, the child is to be recovered by any means necessary. If impossible, neutralize. Neutralize? I echoed. "You mean kill?" Derek's face was pale. She would rather destroy Ethan than let him be raised by anyone but her. I grabbed the sat phone. "Who are you calling?" Derek asked. "The one person I swore I'd never contact." 30 minutes later, a voice answered. "Cole." It was Elena Rourke, Lena's former handler. Deep in the CIA's buried corridors. "You're late," she said. "We've been expecting your call." "You knew this chip existed?" "Of course we did. It was part of the deal." Lena wanted full operational independence. The beacon gave her leverage. "You people let her tag a child." She said it was for his protection. I laughed bitterly. Bullshit. A pause. Then Elena said something I wasn't ready for. She was pregnant when she first entered the agency. That child gave her clearance others could never buy. "You were never her first choice, Nathan. You were her final asset." I went still. "What are you saying?" "She never betrayed us," Elena said quietly. "She was us." Everything she did, including the leaks, the betrayal, even going public, was sanctioned to draw out buried enemies. "So why did you cut her loose?" "Because the mission worked. The enemies are exposed. And now she's expendable. And Ethan? Collateral." I clenched my jaw. "Then you've made your mistake." Elena exhaled. "You're making this personal, Nathan." "It was personal the second you injected a tracker into my son." I hung up and made a decision I never thought I'd make. We had to disappear. Permanently. By dawn, Derek had stripped the chip from Ethan's neck using a sterile kit and nerves of steel. The boy winced, but didn't cry. He was stronger than me. We burned the chip in a furnace behind the cabin, wrapped it in copper before torching it. No signal, no trace. But it wasn't enough. The second it went dark, Derek's server lit up with 3 breach alerts. Someone knew the beacon was dead. They were coming. "We've got 2 hours, maybe less," Derek said, throwing gear into bags. "Options?" I asked. He looked at me. "You either run and raise Ethan off-grid in some frozen corner of the world, or you fight and go head-to-head with a machine that doesn't even admit it exists." I turned to Ethan. He held his backpack, wide-eyed but silent. "What do you want, kiddo?" I asked. He didn't hesitate. "I want you to win, Dad." We loaded into a rusted snow rover and drove east, toward the private airstrip Derek had used during his own disappearance 10 years earlier. The plan was risky. Fly to Iceland, reroute with false credentials, disappear in Europe until we could change identities again. But as we hit the edge of the forest, Derek's phone buzzed once. One message. He was never your son. No number, no trace. Just a ghost reminding me she wasn't done. I stared at Ethan in the rearview mirror. He looked back with my eyes. My son. No matter what she claimed. No matter what fake science she sold. I gripped the wheel tighter. "This isn't her story anymore," I said aloud. Derek looked at me. "No," he agreed. "Now it's yours." The snow rover reached the airstrip as the first orange hue of dawn split the frost-bitten horizon. The runway was little more than a straightened line of packed snow and gravel, cleared by a local contact Derek hadn't spoken to in 7 years. But he showed up, no questions. Just handed me a duffel of burner passports, fueled the single-engine plane, and looked at Ethan. "That your boy?" he asked. I nodded once. He gave a tight smile. "Then I won't ask where you're going." In the air, Ethan slept wrapped in a wool blanket. Derek piloted. I sat in the back, checking the GPS tracker on my wrist every 60 seconds. No tails. No drones. No heat signatures. Clean escape. For now. I leaned back, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind replayed it all like a corrupted film reel. Lena's face at the UN, her words in Geneva, the chip in Ethan's neck, Elena's voice saying collateral. And above all that, Ethan's words. "I want you to win, Dad." That meant something now. It meant more than survival. This wasn't about just staying alive. It was about finishing the war. Derek glanced back. We had Iceland in 2 hours. From there, we bounce. "Berlin?" I asked. He shook his head. "Too hot. We go underground in northern Estonia. Old safe house from the Cold War days. It still breathes." I nodded. "And after that?" He looked forward. "That depends how far you're willing to go." I watched Ethan, sleeping softly. All the way. What I didn't know, what none of us did, was that 2 floors below the Greenland black site, Lena was no longer in her cell. And in DC, a new black directive had just gone live. In Cole status, hostile intel leak risk. If found, neutralize. The sky may not forgive names like ours. But I wasn't asking for forgiveness anymore. They thought Lena was secured. Triple restraints. Concrete vault. No digital access. But they forgot one thing. She'd helped design the system. Deep inside the Greenland black site, Lena stared at the camera in her cell. Blank-faced. Calm. And then, at exactly 3 a.m., the lights flickered. Once. Twice. And then the entire lower wing went black. In the command room, 2 guards scrambled. One tapped into backup power. The other leaned toward the radio. Before he could speak, a high-pitched tone cut through the feed. The speakers hissed, then exploded with static. A voice followed. Restart sequence initiated. Security override confirmed. Impossible, one guard muttered. She's locked. Then the feed blinked. Gone. In her cell, Lena stood. The restraints clicked open, not from the outside. From inside. She smiled. Stepped forward. Pressed her palm to the wall panel. Hello, Lena. A voice from the panel. Familiar. Male. Your backup plan worked. I don't like being caged, she said. A hiss. The door opened. Lena walked through darkness like it was home. As she moved past the exit corridor, a new identity chip slid into her hand from a hidden panel. Alias. S. Marin destination. Lisbon. Secured drop point. She didn't need revenge. She needed control. And control came from being the one no one could predict. She boarded a suborbital drone 2 hours later, destination masked, trajectory bounced between oceans. By the time the CIA figured out she was gone, Lena was already in Europe. And her next message was simple. Nathan's off-leash. You want him silenced? You know my price. Because if the system wanted a clean house, she'd sell them the mop. We were supposed to skip Berlin. 2 exposed. 2 watched. But Ethan said he remembered a house there, faint memories of a quiet street, a green door, a fountain in the courtyard. Lena must have taken him there during one of her missions, and that made it a breadcrumb she might not expect us to follow. We landed on the outskirts of Hamburg, rented a dusty sedan with plates older than Ethan. No credit cards. No paper trail. By dusk, we were on the edge of Berlin, inside an old Soviet block where names didn't matter and silence was the law. The address Ethan remembered? Real. The house? Still standing. I walked it alone. Inside, it was nearly empty, save for one thing. A single framed photo on the floor. Me. Lena. Ethan. Taken before the storm. I stared at it, my jaw tight. Why would she leave this behind? Then I saw the back. Scrawled in her handwriting. You'll come here. I know you. I trained you. My pulse spiked. Derek stepped in from the hallway. Nathan. What? He held up his phone. An encrypted signal had just pinged from Lisbon. She's out. And she's hunting. My stomach sank. This wasn't over. She'd let us escape. Not because she couldn't stop us, but because she wanted us to lead her to something. And I realized something I should have known all along. Ethan wasn't the target. I was. And this time, she wasn't coming for war. She was coming for closure. The Berlin house wasn't just familiar, it was intentional. Every detail had Lena's fingerprints. The reinforced frame. The reinforced cellar. Even the furniture placement, tactical, efficient. It wasn't a home. It was a trap disguised as memory. I searched the place inch by inch. In the cellar, beneath loose floorboards, I found an old lockbox. Inside, a photo of Ethan as a baby, a cassette tape, and a sealed envelope. I hesitated, then opened it. You think I didn't know you'd find this place? You always saw endings. I saw leverage. If you want real answers, stop running. You'll find what matters in Lisbon. No signature. No threats. Just calm manipulation. I played the cassette. Her voice filled the room. Soft. Tired. This house was built for you. For if everything failed. For when the mission turned personal. And now it has. You always wanted to be a father. You were. You are. But Ethan was never the mission. You were. You still are. The tape clicked off. I sat in the silence that followed and felt the fury crawl back into my bones. She was still trying to control the board, even from a continent away. Upstairs, Ethan waited by the window, drawing, always drawing. I watched him for a moment. Hey, I said softly. He looked up. Are we staying here? No, I said. We're going to Lisbon. He nodded. Then, will she be there? Yes. He paused. Are you going to kill her? I froze, then knelt beside him. If I don't, I whispered, she'll never stop. He didn't cry. He just said, then promise me you'll come back. I gripped his shoulder. I promise. And I meant it, even if I wasn't sure it was a promise I could keep. We arrived in Lisbon under the cover of night. No hotel, no trail. Just a contact of Nandi's, a smuggler named Leandro who owed her 2 favors and ran a tiny bookstore that doubled as an encrypted intel hub. Leandro handed me a burner. Message came for you 6 hours ago, he said. Encrypted. Facial signature confirms it's for you. I tapped the screen. A video loaded. Lena, seated at a rooftop cafe, sunglasses on, a soft breeze shifting her hair. Lisbon suits me. Light. History. So much. Endings. She sipped wine. Smiled. You're close. I can feel it. And when you arrive, no guns. No backup. Just you. And me. Like it was supposed to be. If you don't come, I'll find Ethan. The screen went black. I stood in the bookstore's back room, fists tight. She's challenging you, Leandro said. Why not strike now? Because that's what she expects. Impulse. Rage. She wants a scene, public, controlled. I thought for a second. No. We changed the terms. Derek leaned in from the side. You're not going alone, right? I looked at him. I am. Cole, if I show up with you, she disappears again. This isn't war anymore. It's surgery. Derek cursed under his breath. Then let me cover perimeter. I nodded once. Then turned to Leandro. Where was the cafe filmed? He smiled. Old Quarter. Alfama. High ground. Overlooks the river. I checked my watch. Midnight. She gave me the rules. But she forgot who taught her how to break them. The Alfama district slept beneath me as I climbed the last rusted stairwell to the rooftop cafe. Lisbon's lights stretched out below like veins in the dark. She was already there. Same seat. Same wine. Same smile. You're late, she said. I didn't sit. I wasn't planning to stay long. She tilted her head. That's not how this ends. I stepped closer. You tagged our son. You tried to erase me. And now you're acting like this is some twisted reunion. She looked hurt, but I didn't buy it. Ethan was the only real thing in my life, she said. Then why use him? She looked away. Because I was scared. Of losing control. Of losing you. Of being a spy with no one left to lie to. I studied her. I loved you, she said. You built a file on me. I loved the version of you that believed in me. That hit. Hard. I still do, she added. That's why I called you here. I took a slow breath. What do you want, Lena? She finally met my eyes. I want a way out. Not death. Not prison. Escape. For both of us. I laughed. Quiet, bitter. There's no us anymore. Then I placed a tracker on the table. Interpol is a block away. You have one choice. She stared at it, then reached into her coat, pulled out a photo. Ethan, at age 3, laughing, pure. He's what matters now, she whispered. Not revenge, not legacy. She stood, walked to the edge of the rooftop, wind in her hair, the city glowing. And without turning, she said, if I jump, I disappear. If I surrender, they kill me slowly. So tell me, Nathan, which story do you want him to grow up with? I didn't answer. I stepped toward her fast, and everything came down to what she did next. Lena didn't flinch as I stepped behind her. The ledge was narrow, the night quiet. I don't want you dead, I said. You should. No, I said. I want you forgotten. That's worse. She smiled sadly. I don't regret what I did, only how it ended. That's the part you never got, I said. This hasn't ended. Not yet. She turned then, slowly. And for the first time, I saw her face, unmasked. No layers. No lies. Just a woman who had lost everything she tried to control. I raised the tracker again. One press, I said. They'll come. Quiet. No noise. You disappear. She looked at it. Then at the edge. Then back at me. Her hand moved toward the ledge, slow, unsure. And for the first time, she hesitated. Lena, I said gently, don't write the ending for him. Tears welled in her eyes. And finally, she stepped away from the ledge. I caught her wrist. Cuffed her. No drama. No fight. Just surrender. 10 minutes later, Interpol agents swarmed the building. No press. No leaks. Just shadows and transport vans. Lena went quietly. As she was loaded into the vehicle, she looked back at me. Then mouthed, "Thank you." Back at the safe house, Ethan was still drawing. He looked up as I walked in. "Did you stop her?" I nodded. He didn't smile. He just said, "Good." Then he went back to coloring, red, black, and blue streaks blending into something new. Something I didn't recognize. Something that might one day be a story. But for now, it was quiet. And that was enough. They didn't put Lena in a prison. They put her in Protocol Gray, a classified ghost site buried beneath a NATO research base in the Arctic Circle. No cell block. No number. No name. Just silence. She was no longer a person. She was a story that stopped existing. A week after the Lisbon takedown, I received a sealed envelope. No return address. No signature. Inside, a single sheet. Your cooperation is noted. No further action will be taken for now. And beneath that, one condition: the child remains off record. Untraceable. Non-citizen status confirmed. It was a threat wrapped in diplomacy. Later that night, Derek and I sat outside the Estonia safe house, quiet, wind howling through the pines. "You did the right thing," he said. "I don't care." He looked at me. "I didn't do it to feel good," I said. "I did it because there was no other way." He nodded slowly. "So what now?" I looked up at the stars. No answers there. Now we build a story. A lie strong enough to survive the truth. Because in this world, truth gets buried. But myths? Myths live forever. 14 days after Lena vanished, someone leaked everything. Operation Cole. The drone strikes. The handler tapes. The paternity files. Even her classified escape route logs. They weren't just dumped. They were curated, polished, weaponized. The internet exploded. CIA mother turned double agent. Global trail of blood, Green Beret used as husband cover. Child implicated in black OPS lineage. People didn't care what was true. They cared what sounded real. And the media had plenty to feed on. I became the man who married a monster. And Ethan? They made him a symbol. The child of betrayal. Photos from when he was 3 leaked. Analysts debated his identity. Reddit threads tracked his drawings like they were intel maps. I watched it all and felt rage sharpen into clarity. Someone was trying to rewrite the story again. But this time, I wouldn't let them. That night, I recorded a video. Just one. Simple. Raw. No production. My name is Nathan Cole. And if you're seeing this, you probably already heard their version. So here's mine. I didn't name Ethan. I didn't ask for sympathy. I just told the truth and burned down every version but mine. Then I logged off and disappeared deeper. Ethan never asked about the headlines, but I knew he'd seen them. One morning, I found him staring at a printed article, Lena's photo, blurred in black and white. Ghost mother unaccounted for. He didn't speak, just held it. "What do you want to know?" I asked. He looked up slowly. Was she always lying? I sat beside him, quiet for a while. "No," I finally said. "But she was always hiding." He nodded like he understood, then asked, "Do you think I'm like her?" I took his hand. "I think you're like you. But I'm part of her too." I didn't answer that, because I didn't know how. Later, I caught him sketching again. This time, a figure in the shadows holding a paper. A child watching from a doorway. No face. Just light and dark. I asked him, "What's that?" He shrugged. "A secret." And I realized something painful and true. No matter how much I protect him, Ethan is already writing his own story, and part of that story will always include her. 2 months passed. We were ghosts in Tallinn, using burner cards and silence as currency. Then, out of nowhere, Elena Rourke contacted me. Encrypted message. One line. I want to testify. Not for you. For him. We met in a monastery turn-date vault near Tartu. She looked older. Defeated. You helped cover it up, I said. I helped build it. Why the change of heart? She looked at me. I watched her break you. Watched you survive. Watched the agency spin it all into theater. And then I saw the boy's face. Your son. He deserves more than our silence. She slid me a drive. Proof. Raw logs. Original briefings. Lena's full timeline, unredacted. This clears you, she said. I stared at it. And if I release this, you'll force the agency to admit they trained a traitor and used a soldier as cover. Will they retaliate? She didn't hesitate. Yes. I looked down at the drive. Everything I needed. Everything I didn't want. Because exposing them meant burning whatever scraps of peace I had left. I stood. Thank you, I said. But I didn't take the drive. I left it on the table. Some truths aren't worth trading peace for. Not when you've already won the war. We were staying in a fisherman's cottage north of Helsinki, completely off-grid. Cold air. Salt wind. The kind of silence that feels earned. I had just poured a cup of coffee when the knock came. No one was supposed to know we were here. I opened the door slow and found a man in a military parka, hands raised, face pale from frostbite. Name's Eli Mercer, he said. Used to work for Sigint before I disappeared myself. I'm not here to hurt you. I stepped aside. He walked in without a sound. I heard about Lisbon. About the tapes. I've been tracking what they're not talking about. I stared at him. You want something? He pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket. It was a photo, grainy, taken from a satellite. But the figure in it? Lena, wearing a coat, walking through a street market in southern Argentina. I froze. Impossible, I said. Mercer shrugged. You know as well as I do, nothing dies in a black site unless they want it to. I sat down slowly. She's alive. She's loose. And worse, she's not hiding anymore. He pulled out a second photo, a cropped still from a traffic cam. Ethan. With me. From Estonia. Taken 3 weeks ago. They'd found us. Someone wants you rattled, he said. Or someone's preparing to end the story for good. That night, I didn't sleep. Because it meant one thing. Lena had unfinished business. And I wasn't the only one running out of time. The next morning, I found Ethan at the window, staring at the horizon like he knew something was coming. Bad dream? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, I saw her. Where? In the dream. She was in a crowd, wearing blue. She looked at me, smiled, and said, You're not done yet. My chest tightened. That's just a dream, I said. He turned to me. Is it? He opened his notebook, the one he always drew in but never let me read. Page after page, sketched in painful, precise detail. Maps. Symbols. Dates. Routines I never taught him, but she might have. You remember this? I asked, flipping through. He nodded. She taught me how to remember things, even when I wasn't supposed to. She said the mind is a weapon, and mine could be a vault. I looked at the drawings again, coordinates, codes, some written backwards. What else did she teach you? Ethan hesitated, then whispered. She said if anything ever happened to her, I'd have to finish what she started. I sat back, shaken. She hadn't just tagged him. She had trained him quietly, subtly, like a ticking time bomb. Not with violence. With data. Ethan looked scared now. I don't want to finish anything, he said. I just want to be normal. I put a hand on his shoulder. Then we end this, once and for all. Together. Because this wasn't about Lena anymore. This was about breaking the legacy she tried to leave behind. Derek returned 2 days later with a satellite uplink and a burner drive. We ran the coordinates Ethan sketched, he said. Matched one to a dormant CIA dead drop in Patagonia. It hasn't been accessed in 6 years. He pulled up the satellite image, a rusted metal container buried beneath a stone marker near a river bend. What's in it? I asked. Could be nothing. Could be everything she left behind in case the world turned on her. I turned to Ethan. You're sure she never mentioned this? She didn't have to, he said. She made me draw it. Over and over. Why? He looked at me, older than his years. Because she thought you'd forget. But I wouldn't. By nightfall, we were en route to Argentina. No flights. No banks. Just old friends of old enemies. We arrived 3 days later. The river was exactly as Ethan drew it. The rock, still there. We dug in silence and found the box. Inside, a burner phone, a flash drive, and one handwritten letter. It was addressed to Ethan. I opened it. My son, if you're reading this, it means I failed, or succeeded in a way the world will never understand. The files inside hold names that no one dares to say out loud. If you release them, you burn nations. If you hide them, you become what I was, a secret keeper. The choice is yours, not mine, not your father's. I looked at Ethan. His eyes scanned the letter, then looked at me. I don't want her power, he said. I want my own life. I burned the letter and buried the box again with the files inside, because some weapons don't belong in any war. On our final night in Patagonia, as we prepared to move again, I stepped away to make a call. One last connection. Elena Rourke picked up on the first ring. You found the drop, she said. Did you take the files? No, why not? Because I know what happens when you spend your life trying to control the story. There was a pause. Then, so what now, Nathan? I looked out at the stars. The same stars Lena once stared at. The same ones I now shared with Ethan. Now, I said, we disappear for good. I teach my son how to live, not how to survive. You really think they'll let you vanish? They don't get to decide that anymore. She didn't argue, didn't warn me. She just said, then I hope you never have to call me again. And hung up. Back at the cabin, Ethan was asleep. Drawing tucked under his hand, a sun rising over water. For the first time, there were no shadows in it. Just light. We left Patagonia the next morning. No trace. No names. Only the truth we chose to bury, so something better could live. 2 months passed. Ethan and I settled in a quiet town tucked between the Pyrenees and the sea, a place where no one asked questions, and names were just sounds. He went by Leo now. Not officially, but it fit. At night, I'd watch him from across the room, curled up in a hoodie too big for him, sketching trees and rivers and faces he didn't want to remember. One morning over breakfast, he asked quietly, Do I have a passport? I looked up. No, so what am I? I thought for a moment. You're a free man. He stirred his cereal. But I don't belong anywhere. I reached across the table. You belong with me. He nodded slowly. But I saw it in his eyes, the awareness. That he wasn't just hiding. He was growing. And the time would come when hiding wouldn't be enough. That night, I called Derek. Burn line. Last time. Get him a future, I said. What kind? Education. Papers. A life that's real. And you. I'm not asking for me. A pause. Then Derek said, You know this means cutting him loose one day. I know. And it broke something inside me to say it. But love, I realized, wasn't just protection. It was preparation. Weeks later, in a different country, under different names, a story broke online. Small, obscure, buried deep in forums. Former black site detainee escapes transfer. Officials deny it ever happened. No photos. No names. But I knew. I knew it was her. I reread the headline twice. Lena was gone. Again. Not caught. Not exposed. Gone. And this time, the silence didn't feel like peace. It felt like a countdown. I didn't tell Ethan. He was finally laughing again. Drawing landscapes. Playing football in the street with other kids. He was becoming someone she'd never get to design. But I couldn't sleep that night. I kept seeing her face on the rooftop, wondering if she knew this moment would come. If she'd planned the escape all along. If the drop in Patagonia was never the end, just another breadcrumb to burn time while she vanished again. And in the mirror, I asked myself something I never had before. If she came for him, would I kill her this time? The answer came too fast. Yes. and that terrified me more than anything else. It was a rainy Sunday when Ethan asked the hardest question he'd ever asked me. We were walking back from the small village bakery, bread under my arm, clouds hanging low. He looked up suddenly and asked, "Do you think Mom is evil?" I stopped mid-step. He didn't say it with anger, just curiosity, like someone measuring the shape of a shadow. I crouched in front of him. "No," I said. "I think she made evil choices. I think she hurt people. I think she forgot what love was supposed to protect." He thought on that. "Can people stop being bad?" "Sometimes," I said, "if they want to, and if they're willing to lose what power gave them." He stared at the rain. "Do you think she misses me?" I didn't know. "I think she remembers you. Every day." That was true. But remembering and regretting aren't the same thing. He nodded, then ran ahead into the rain, laughing as he splashed through puddles. And I let him go. Because some questions didn't need answers now. They just needed time. I wrote it one night after too much whiskey and too little sleep. A letter. To her. Not as a threat. Not as a warning. Just as a man who needed to exhale what was left. "Lena, I won't chase you. I won't haunt you. But I'll never forgive you for making a child carry your legacy. Ethan is not your backup plan. Not your seat of power. He's just a boy. One who deserves blue skies and scraped knees, not agents and encrypted notebooks. If you ever try to reach him again, I won't find you to talk. I'll find you to end it. This isn't a promise. It's the only mercy I have left to give." And I burned it after reading it aloud once. Some truths aren't for sending. They're for releasing. The next morning, I packed Ethan's school bag, kissed his forehead, and walked him to the gate. There was no war today. No ghosts at the edge of town. Just sun, wind, and a boy finally free enough to be just a boy. The village fair came once a year. Simple lights, cheap toys, fried bread, and music that sounded like it belonged in a different century. Ethan loved it. He darted between stalls, face lit by warm bulbs and sugar highs, laughing in a way I hadn't heard since before everything shattered. I let myself enjoy it. Even smiled. Until I saw her. At first, I wasn't sure, just a figure by the edge of the hill, watching from behind the olive trees. Long coat. Face turned from the wind. But I knew the posture. I knew the silence around her like a cloak. "Lena." I moved slowly, careful not to startle Ethan. She didn't run. Didn't even blink when I reached the rise. "Thought you were dead," I said. She turned just slightly, enough for the pale light to catch her eyes. Maybe I was. A little. "Why now?" She looked at the fair, at Ethan, spinning on a carousel, laughter echoing. I had to see if he was still free. "You gave that up the second you weaponized his mind." She didn't flinch, but her voice thinned. "I was wrong. You were cruel." A long silence. Then she said, "I'm leaving. For good this time. No drops. No false flags. No plans. But I needed to know. He's happy." I nodded once. "He's alive. That's more than you ever gave him." She turned to go, then paused, and whispered, "Tell him I was real." "No," I said. She waited. "You were dangerous. And that's the only truth he needs." She walked away. Didn't look back. And that's when I finally knew this was goodbye. Not with fire. Not with war. Just finality. Later that night, I sat with Ethan under the stars. He was quiet. Thoughtful. Like he already sensed the shift. "You okay, Dad?" I nodded. "Yeah." "Did something happen?" I hesitated. Then said, "I saw someone I used to know." He looked up. "A friend?" "No," I said. "Someone who helped make all this complicated." He tilted his head. "Mom." Silence. I didn't ask how he knew. He just did. "I thought she was gone." "She is," I said. "But sometimes the past circles back, just to make sure we're still breathing." He leaned against my side. "Did she say anything?" I hesitated. "She wanted to know if you're happy." He looked at the sky. "I think I'm learning." We sat there for a long while, just wind and starlight. Then Ethan said something that broke me wide open. "She was a storm, right?" I nodded. "And you were the roof that didn't fall." Tears welled, sudden, sharp. He wasn't asking for reassurance. He was giving it. And in that moment, I realized Ethan didn't just survive. He'd started to heal. Inside, on the table, the last burner phone buzzed once. Message received. Target relocated. Case closed. I deleted it, unplugged the battery, and slid it into a drawer I'd never open again. Because the war was over. And the boy? He was still drawing, only now the pages held no shadows. The school was small, tucked into a valley near the border. Wooden desks, hand-painted murals on the walls, and a playground that echoed with laughter. Ethan didn't just blend in. He thrived. He made friends, learned 3 new languages, started a chess club. They didn't know who he was, or who his mother had been, or what shadow he was born from. To them, he was just Leo, the smart kid with the quiet smile and the notebooks full of wild, brilliant maps. One afternoon, his teacher pulled me aside. "Your son," she said, "has a gift." I smiled. "He's always had one." "No, I mean it," she pressed. "Not just intelligence. Focus. Awareness. Like he's watching the world deeper than the rest of us." I didn't know how to explain that. Didn't know how to say he came from a mother who saw the world like a chessboard and a father who had no choice but to fight on it. So I just nodded. "He's been through a lot," I said. "But he's writing a new story now." The teacher smiled. "Aren't we all?" That night, I watched him sleep. Hair messy, arms tucked in, peaceful. Then he murmured in his sleep, "Not running anymore." And I exhaled like I hadn't in years. Because for once, he wasn't. Neither of us were. 1 year later, a letter came. No return address. Just a folded page inside. "You buried my memory well. Thank you. This is my last move. No more aliases. No more games. They'll find me soon. Let them. Tell our son. He was the only part of me that was ever real." There was no signature. Just coordinates scrawled in red ink. I burned the page without reading them twice. Ethan never saw it. Some ghosts don't deserve resurrection. We sat on the balcony that night, him sketching stars, me holding a coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. "Dad," he said quietly, "if she ever came back, what would you do?" I looked out at the horizon. "I'd protect you. Again. Always." He nodded, then smiled. "But you wouldn't let her win?" I shook my head. "She already lost the moment she underestimated you." He grinned. That's when I knew he wasn't just my son anymore. He was a survivor, a thinker, a builder, and most of all, free. Before we fade out, let me ask you something. If you had to choose between truth and peace, which would you pick? Comment below. I want to hear it from you. And if the story hit you in any way, if you felt something, if it made you pause, cry, or even just sit still for a moment, then don't just scroll. Tap that like button. Hit subscribe because there are more stories like this coming. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. Also, tell me this. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story reached. From our hearts to your screen, this was Nathan, Ethan, and the truth that almost got erased. Until the next one. Stay sharp. Stay human.